Visualize it, work for it, make it happen. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Athlete Podcast sponsored by Sports for Champions. Today I'm delighted to be joined by GB professional bobsleigh athlete Leon Greenwood. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's brilliant to have you. If we could start at the very beginning as we always do, how did you first get into athletics?
Ooh, how did I first get into athletics? So I think I was like 10 years old and my mum and my nan were going to Asda. They were going shopping. I always loved going shopping with my mum and my nan. And I was on the street playing with the kids, and I seen them going off. They drove off, and I was like, "Oh no, I want to go shopping." And basically, I start chasing the car. I remember running for like 500, 600 meters, and I running next to the car. Don't recommend doing this. So I'm running next to the car, knocking on the window, like, "Stop, stop, stop!" Anyway, we go shopping. I come back home. My mum didn't realise she was like, "How did you catch up to the car so fast?" I was just like, I've been racing people in school, in primary school. I've been winning. I've been beating them in jumping competitions. Anyway, my mum ended up inviting me down to, mum didn't invite me down. Went to a local athletics club, and yeah, it kind of kicked off from there really. And when you're young and you're 10, you pretty much do every event going. So I did long jump, high jump, long distance, javelin, sprinting, hurdles, absolutely everything until you get a bit older. I think I got about 13 years old. And then, I specialised in sprinting, and then it kind of just kicked off from there, really. That's how it all began.
It's interesting. It's always a big deal in school. Who's the fastest person in the school? You find that out, don't you? And it's kind of like, that's the top dog, really, when you're in primary school. It changes in secondary a little bit.
Yeah. It still happens in secondary, though.
Yeah.
It still happens, yeah.
And then, obviously, all the other sports start to come into it a little bit more, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you think that when you went to the athletics club, was it kind of a similar situation where you're still the quickest, or were you starting to see a few other sort of top people?
Yeah, you go there and like loads of people are, most of the people are quicker than you. Because you actually don't know how to run. You just run like I describe it, footballers don't hate me, but you run like a footballer, not like a sprinter. Football is really quick off the mark, whereas sprinting, you're quick off the mark, but then you try to upright running. But then with football, you don't really do that, do you? You're dribbling a foot, whereas sprinting, you're trying to keep your mechanics all the way, and you don't, as a kid, you don't have a clue about that. So yeah, I had people they've been going there years, and yeah, they was a lot quicker than me.
What do you think was the steepest learning curve in terms of adapting your style to what they were doing?
I think as a kid, you'd look at, you look at your role model. So when I was a kid, Usain Bolt was a role model. So you just look at YouTube videos and looking at the older athletes around you, thinking, I want to be like them. Always saying hello to the older athletes. And yeah, just kind of copying from them really and asking them. I've always been an athlete that asks loads of questions because I always want to learn more and like be better even at a young age. So. Just looking at other athletes and trying to just be like them at that age.
So once you nailed that technique down, I'm presuming that you started to win some of them races, because I know you went on to county level and beyond. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I haven't got the technique nailed. It's still a work in progress.
Nice.
So I went from, as soon as I started, got understanding the technique, understanding where your body position should be, and basically a traditional. I had a coach who was a traditional coach, and just doing loads and loads and loads of reps, and that it got me quicker. It got me a lot quicker, and then I kind of went on to win like the Northern Champs, the Yorkshire Champs, and like the 60 meters, the 200 meters, 100 meters, 400 meters. You literally just get thrown in. Every sprint event going when you're a kid.
Yeah. See which one sticks.
Yeah.
In terms of your life, where you're at that point, were you thinking this is what I want my career to be in? Were you sort of laser focused on athletics in general, or was there something else going on?
Yeah. So as a kid, I pretty much played every sport. I played football, basketball, did athletics, did some climbing, did break dancing. You just do every sport, don't you? But my main two focus was athletics and basketball. They were the two things, and I always thought they worked hand in hand because plyometrics, you jump in really high and you have to have quick acceleration for basketball. It worked out with sprinting, so you need pretty much similar things. So yeah, I did them two sports, and they kind of, like I said, they went in hand until you get a bit older and you have to focus in on one thing.
What did you eventually focus in on?
So bobsleigh. I found bobsleigh, but I chose. Bobsleigh is a brand new thing, but for 15 years of my literally sporting career, when I first started doing athletics from 10 years old, I zoned in on sprinting.
So is it 200 metres generally is the one you've had the most success in?
Yeah, 200 metres, yeah. I always thought the reason why basketball helped with that is, you're obviously constantly on the move, quick acceleration, and with 200 metres, you're running a little bit longer, you still need quick acceleration. So yeah, I always felt like it helped. Whether it actually did, I don't know, but yeah, I thought it did.
It always looks to me like one of the most painful races, 200 metres, because it's the sustained sprint. So you're not really running it any slower than the 100 metres, but you've got to do it for twice as long. Is that right?
Yeah, I reckon the 400 metres
true,
is the hardest. One of the hardest events, because you're constantly having to keep that fast pace all the way around. But 200 metres is a difficult event. When I was a kid, my coach was always telling me, this is the hardest event. So you kind of believe it until you do a 400 metres and you're like, no, this is the hardest event. I remember my first 400 metres, honestly, it felt on my hamstrings. I was not prepared.
And then in terms of the bobsleigh, how did that first come about?
So bobsleigh came around probably it was 2 years ago now, so 2022. So I went to university with some bobsleigh athletes, and they said, Leon, you should come have a go at it. And I think at that time I was way too light for bobsleigh. Had the height, had the frame, but didn't have the weight. So I got invited down to what's called the Talent Identification Day, where they basically see if you've got any potential to be a bobsledder. And whilst you're there, there's Olympic bobsledders looking at you, see if you've got the potential. And then one of the guys, Greg Cackett, one of my teammates now, he saw me, he said, looks like you've got a little bit of potential, Leon. So he invited me down to some training sessions. And then there's a process, there's steps towards to becoming the GB athlete for, GB Bobsleigh athlete. So after the Talent Identification Day, you go to like a testing event to see if you've, again, got the potential to do the GB testing. So I did the testing event.
What kind of paces are they putting you through then on the Talent Identification Day?
I wouldn't say they put you through paces. It's more of, here's a bobsled, I'll show you the technique, have a go.
Right.
And I'm quite lucky because I did sprinting, so I had foundation of speed. I just didn't have the strength, because obviously you're moving a weight. When you're pushing, when you're sprinting, it's obviously all body weight. Yeah, you do resistance runs and stuff like that, but with a bobsled, it's a lot heavier. It's a lot, especially when you're pushing it on your own. The Talent Identification Day is like it is heavy, but it feels heavy anyway because if you're not that strong.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then obviously, so you're looking at it thinking, okay, I've got through to the kind of next stage of testing. Do you then go Asda, get a massive lot of protein in? Do you change your approach to everything straight away?
I've got so I remember getting told I had to be like minimum 90 kilos.
Right.
Like, for a sled has to be a certain weight, and 90 kilos is pretty much the minimum you need to be.
Right.
So I'm getting up to the event, and I'm weighing myself like every day to see if I'm getting. I'm like 88 kilos. I'm like, okay, a week later, 89 kilos. I'm like, and I weighed myself on that day of it. I was like 89.5 or something like this. I don't know actually. If I was 89.5, I don't think it would be a big deal. But you kind of want to, on the GB testing day, you want to be 90 kilos. So I'm having like protein shakes every single day, just to get the weight up. And I got on the scales, and I was exactly 90 kilos.
Nice.
I was like, yes, I did it.
That's so funny, because I know you're a PT now, aren't you? So it's nutrition, something that you've took fairly seriously throughout your career.
Yeah. Always. Like, I've always eaten healthy. I like healthy food. I ain't always been a big fan of like fast food and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes everyone loves a bit of McDonald's, whatever, after a hard training block, or after a big competition. But yeah, it's something I take quite seriously now. Training people, it's all. The training's the easy part, man. The training is the easy part. It's what comes with it. So like the mentality, the nutrition, the sleep, they're all the important parts. Just the showing up is, and training, that's the easy bit. It's just the other bits that go about on behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is the most important bit. That's when you'll see the results.
Do you look back at your life and think there's certain things that you can pinpoint that have given you that kind of resilience and mentality to be a professional athlete?
Yeah, well, one thing stands out to me, and this was, how long ago now is it? This was 4 years ago. So this was 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, I was doing my sprinting. I was quite knocking on the door. I was doing quite well, and then I had this ankle pain, And I went and saw the physios, and they was like, oh, it's just like an ankle impingement, and you just need to do some exercise to get it better. I'm like, cool, do these exercises. A year down the line, it's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse because I'm still training on it. Went and saw a surgeon, and I had an MRI, and they basically said to me, oh, Leon, there's 3 options here. Firstly, you've got damaged cartilage. You've got 3 options. The first option is you get like a steroid injection, and basically it'll recover it. And like I can't remember the name, but it's like a steroid injection for 6 months, and you should be okay. But the pain may come back. And then the second thing was you can leave it and do these exercises. I was like, okay, well that really isn't an option. The third option is you have an operation, but you won't be able to sprint as fast again. You won't be able to be at the same level that you're at now, but the pain will be like a 2 out of 10. Bearing in mind the pain's like a 12 out of 10. It's painful. So I took the operation. I was like, I'm gonna have this operation. I'm gonna prove this surgeon wrong. Anyway, obviously you can imagine I was upset, saying I'll never be at this level again. I had to do something. I couldn't be in this pain all the time. I remember waking up just limping. I've got like videos of like 4 years ago, me just limping after sessions. It wasn't good. Anyway, 2 years of rehabilitation, and through that, going back to what you asked me, through that, like the mindset shift I had is ridiculous. Like before, I used to compare myself against others. I was never happy about any achievements that I had. I always think, oh, what's the next step? I was never present in the moment. Now, honestly, total mindset shift. Like I said, I don't compare myself against anyone now. So it's me against me. I know. I always say to people, it's you against you. I'm always appreciative. I'm appreciative to represent the country. Bearing in mind, 4 years ago I was told I could never run again. Now I'm doing this. It's I can't be. I'm really appreciative of it, and just be able to just get on the track and run. And yeah, like the mental toughness I've gained from it is real, really. And I've just tried to install that into the people that I speak to, and my people that I train, and just try to change their mindset if they're struggling with certain situations.
Well, what do you think it is about you that gave you that mentality to not take no for an answer, really? Because obviously you've found a lot of mental strength through coming through that, but there must have been something within you to begin with to say, like, I'm not going to take it, that I can't run again at the same pace. Like, there must be something. I think
initially it was to prove the surgeon wrong. That was the initial thing. And then I think after a year that concept went, and it was, I'm doing this for myself. Like, I've worked so hard to get to the level where I was. From 10 years old, I've worked up. So this is like, 12, 13 years of training every week, showing up, I say never late. My coach is like, he's always late. Showing up to every training session, even if I was tired, eating well, even spending time away from my partner, family, competing, going to, my friends would be going out and, going on holidays, but I couldn't go to them because I had a competition, and that's obviously I wanted to do that. So yeah, it's kind of that's how I've got to that kind of level and that mentality through, doing that.
Yeah, those little wins, I suppose, when you keep doing it, every time that you say no, you put another brick on your sort of mentality, don't you?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So then, we've kind of got a bit off track there, but no, pardon the pun. But back to the bobsleigh. You've through to the second phase of selection for GB at that point, is it?
Yeah.
Is that where it moves onto the ice?
It goes onto the ice, yeah. So after the GB testing, they say, right then, okay, so they took the top 4 guys, and they put us on ice. We get 1 day, so we went to Oberhof in Germany. Right. We're all brand new. We'd never run on ice before. They give us 1 day of like familiarization to get used to it. You're like, oh my god, this moves so much quicker. So if you're a sprinter, it's good. It's really good. So you didn't need to be as strong as you did at Bath University, where it's really heavy to move. Whereas on ice, it flings out in front of you. I was like, this is good for me. This is really good. So yeah, GB testing, and then we competed, and then the day later we found out how we did. They don't tell us at the times on the day. Right. They bring us all into this room, very serious, and they say, right, yeah, you've got in, or you haven't. I got in, it was good. The day later, we're practicing getting into the bobsled, and smash, my toe on the side handle.
Oh no.
Broken.
Jesus.
Broke my toe. So I was out for half the season.
That's a killer.
Yeah.
On the first day of actually trying it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you like, have you done complete runs in the bobsleigh, or are you just kind of like setting off on that initial bit?
I ain't even gone down I ain't even gone down a bobsleigh. I haven't even jumped into a bobsleigh. This time we're just practicing pushing it.
Yeah,
and
just that's take off.
Yeah. Wow. So it's all like it's all individual stuff, all individual testing at this point. And then obviously the day later we're practicing as a team, getting into it, and then that's when it all started crumbling down again. I thought, why again? I've worked up to this point. Is something just telling me that I shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff? But yeah.
So what do you do with that then? You've got 6 months presumably. Now you know that you've been selected. You've got 6 months to sit out and wait until you can actually get back in the bobsleigh. Are you watching bobsleigh? Are you visualising? What are you doing for 6 months?
So I'm watching. So it was on like form. I think it happened in September, and then I came back out in January.
Right.
So I was watching, the team compete, do really well. As you can imagine, it's quite tough. I'm at home, not even being able to walk properly, and these guys are smashing it, which is great. But from an individual aspect, point of view, it's tough for an athlete because I'm so competitive, and not even being there, present, even supporting them in that, shouting for them is tough as well. So I got back out, and I stole my speed, the speed that I gained throughout that season, training for the bobsled. It wasn't there because I've had a broken toe.
Cool.
So I was there present with them, but I was still not competing because I wasn't quick enough because I've been out for 3 months. Again, that was tough. I'm a competitor, just watching my teammates compete. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to represent the country. In my head I was like, why me? I've worked so hard. But all that aside, I'm appreciative. I got there and I was just waiting for the next season.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you're biding your time then.
Yeah.
Do you build up? Do you go back into the gym, put a bit more weight on, all that kind of stuff?
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So they had such a successful season, and then I thought, right, now it's time for me to rebuild and get back to the position that I want to get into, represent the country. So yeah, building all the foundations up, getting stronger, getting faster. So obviously I went from 90 kilos. Now I'm 100 kilos. So yeah, so within under a year, put on 10 kilos. Good kilos, I think.
Yeah.
Good,
well gotten gains.
Yeah.
There's a difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
So can you tell us about your first time down a full run of the bobsleigh track?
Oh, so scary. Yeah, scary. So I'm like preparing. We're in Winterberg, Germany, and bobsleigh's such a small community, and everyone's talking. Some of my team saying, "Oh, it's Leon's first time going down." I'm a bit nervous, and then people are like, "Oh, you'll be fine, Leon." Some of them are, "Oh, you'll be fine," and it's the most dangerous track in the world. It's one of the quickest tracks in the world. I'm hearing all this. Most dangerous track in the world. I'm like, well, this is my first time going down. So anyway, I put my helmet on and walking up to the line, I'm shaking. I'm like, oh god. So the faster you push off the bobsleigh, the faster it'll go down, right? So the technique is horrendous. Honestly, I haven't pushed properly, but this is my first time pushing a bobsleigh as well, on ice.
Wow.
With someone.
Yeah.
Thrown in the deep end.
Go,
Yeah. So I push it off, lift the sled up when you push it. You're not supposed to do that. Lift the sled up, I just trot it off, and then I get in. Going down, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, please don't crash. Bearing in mind, Brad's such a good driver, he would not crash. But I'm new to it, right? I'm just thinking, please don't crash. Anyway, we finish, and I'm holding the brakes up, and I'm just like, I end up holding the brakes. I have my head down. When you pull the brakes up, you put your head up so you can see. Everything's going through my head, so I'm just like pulling the brakes down. I'm like, why is this so hard? I'm using my arms to pull these brakes up. Brad gets out. I say, all right, Leon? And I'm just like, yeah. Mud my head. It's like being in a tumble dry. Honestly, your head just going round and round and round. He was like, why is your head down? I go, is that not what you're supposed to do? He's like, put your head up and use your legs. And I did it. I went down again and I used my legs. I was like, oh my god, that's so much easier.
So you had to get the leverage.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, can you tell us a little bit about the two roles and about how they differ, perhaps, and perhaps what makes somebody? Is it a brakeman? Is that your position? That's you at the back.
Yeah.
And then is it a driver at the front?
Yeah, pilot. Yeah.
Pilot. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about those positions? Perhaps what makes a good brakeman and a good pilot?
Yeah. So, normally the pilots are brakemen first, and then if they're a good brakeman, they'll go into being a pilot.
Right.
So a brakeman, someone who's strong, someone who's fast, someone who's powerful, basically like a sprinter, a heavy sprinter.
Yeah.
And someone who can, get on with a team. Like a pilot, pilot, brakeman, everyone needs to get on. If you're not a good guy, you're not going to be a good teammate, are you?
Yeah.
So everyone who we have on board are great guys. We all get on as a team. So the difference is between a pilot and a brakeman. The pilot obviously drives and has got a real good head on their shoulders. They know the tracks. They're very specific in what they do, and they're basically the leader of the team. They're the captain of the team. The brakeman's the pick up the sled, move the sled. Do the hard way. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then as for the pilot, presumably because you got split seconds to make tiny little adjustments.
Yeah,
it's all. Is it about body weight and there's a kind of presumably you're both contributing towards the steering. Is that right?
So I'm not a pilot,
Yeah.
so I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But what I do know is, so they have something called D-rings. It's what they control the bobsleigh with. We don't, as a brakeman, we do not move.
Right. Okay.
We do not move. We try not to move. Maybe if we know we're on a corner, going around, big corner, you may slightly move your head and lean into the corner. But you ain't gonna make, on cool runnings where they're in the bath and they're like, you ain't doing that. No way, you ain't gonna do that. You have to keep still as possible, because any slight movement you do, say if we're going left and you turn your body right, well, it may just slightly move the bobsleigh out of the line that Brad wants to follow. So you try to keep as still as possible, so Brad can just focus. Every line he gets is perfect, because if the line is perfect, it can, you could go from first to second within 100th. So every 100th counts in bobsleigh. So you need to be so on it.
So it's not huge in Britain yet. It is growing. And I know that it's really competitive on the world stage, but you had some success in the World Cup. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So, firstly, this season, half the guys were injured. So Greg Cackett had a hamstring tear, Brad had back surgery, Aaron had shin splints, all this kind of stuff going on. So half the team was injured, so we missed half the season. We come back. Second race in, we come third, so we got a bronze medal in Lillehammer. Yeah. So that was my first World Cup medal. It was an amazing experience. Really, awesome. Honestly, it was like the first time a competition was there in 25 years, a World Cup competition. So being there was, the fans came out and watched. And
did you expect a medal?
Did I expect a medal? I think the guys have such a high standard of what they do. So they had such a successful season last year. We never expect to get a medal, but we expect to perform as best as we can. If we can perform the best, then
why not? Yeah.
Why not? Why can't we get a medal?
Yeah,
we can compete with the best in the world. So we believe anything like you said at the beginning. Visualize it, work for it, make it happen. Constantly, I'm visualizing throughout that injury. The ankle injury. I was always visualizing me doing stuff and being successful in a sporting career. And and especially with the bobsled, especially with the toe injury, I was visualising it, like you said at the beginning, visualising it, going down on the bobsled and, just being there with the guys, and honestly, it works. Yeah. It works.
So when you come to do it, you feel like you've already been
done it. You've done it 100 times.
Yeah. Makes sense. And then I believe it was the World Championships to close out the season. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So that was a few weeks ago now. That was in Winterberg, Germany. The first track that I went on, and I was really nervous.
Wow, the homecoming. That's
exactly.
Nice.
The World Champs became top 6 in the world, which man, I was buzzing. Like weird bobsleigh, because normally in other sports it's like top 3, but in bobsleigh it's top 6.
Right.
So you get a medal, which is great. Everyone was happy, especially with a season where we've missed half the season. People have been injured. We've had to build back, and we've coming top 6, I'm not complaining. I'm so happy, and just to represent the country at a world stage, I'm just buzzing. Like I said, just appreciate being out to run again.
That is amazing.
It's a bonus.
So come so far as well from repetitive injuries to get to that stage. What's in the future?
The Olympics, man. The Winter Olympics. That is the goal.
Yeah,
that is the goal. And when I say visualize, I don't know if I've said it again, but visualize, work for it, make it happen. When I'm in the gym and I'm struggling, when I'm on the track and I'm struggling, when I'm at home I'm struggling, and the motivation's down, the discipline stays because I'm only thinking about one thing, and it's the getting to the Olympics. Yes, it's a while away, but that's my goal, and I'm working towards it. I've got a lot to do before that happens. I've got to get stronger, I've got to get faster, but most importantly to stay healthy. You have to be clever, train hard, train smart.
What does a typical day of training look like?
Right now, I'm not doing a lot because we've had 6 months of really hard work.
Battered it,
yeah. So the last 3 weeks have been quite chill, going to the gym, but generally, so when I'm in full flight pre-season, maybe gym 4 times a week, bobsleigh 2 times a week, 1 track session a week.
Right.
That's the way it looks, really.
Yeah.
Travelling all over the shop. I travel, an hour up to Oxford, an hour and a half to Bath. Sometimes we go to London to train in the indoor track. We train all over. I train all over. Yeah.
Constant.
Yeah.
What kind of nutrition approach do you take? Obviously we touched on it earlier, but presumably that's a lot of calories for all that training.
Yeah, eat a lot of calories, but good calories. I eat a lot of protein. That's the key thing. If I have to summarise it in one, I eat so much protein. Yeah. Like 225 grams a day. That's
That's amazing. So that's presumably you're having like five meals a day to get that in, 4 meals.
Yeah, a day. It's normally like four meals, and then one like very it's like snack. I have like a lot of snacks, like healthy snacks, like protein snacks.
Yeah.
Much of protein shakes. That's kind of how I keep
it up,
keep the calories up.
Yeah, something we like to talk about a lot because I think there's quite a negative relationship with food for a lot of people, and I think people have lost the idea that it actually is fueling performance, and people are thinking about it as in a negative way, when realistically it's actually quite it's so important for performance, but not just in terms of physical but also mentally too. So it's just something that we like to push across in the podcast in terms of what you guys have to do around it. And then in terms of funding, I know that it's something that's it can be difficult in a lot of sports, and I know it's in bobsleigh has the same sort of issues with it. Can you tell us a bit about that, and perhaps how something like Sports for Champions can help?
Yeah, sure. So obviously bobsleigh, I think it's most like not known sports, right? So bobsleigh is not very known in the UK, so let's be honest, it's not going to get that much funding. So a lot of athletes have to, self-funding. My first season, self-funding, having to work a 60-hour week job and then, save up some money, try to get sponsors. You got the financial aspect of it, because at home you got all your bills and stuff like that. And then you're coming out in season, it's 6 months away. Wow. It's not like you just go, when at athletics, you've just got a competition here and a competition there on a weekend. Yeah, we compete on a weekend, but we've got a training week where we have to go down. So you're there for 6 months, having to financially support yourself, and the money's not great. And even when you win, if you win, the money doesn't change. You don't get any more money. Some nations do it different, but in the UK, like people, some of us get support, some of us don't. Depends if you're on a development level or whether you're not on a development level. So yeah, it is a struggle, but the great thing about Sports Champions is it works around your schedule. So if I've got training, so the 6 months that I'm here, if I've got training Monday, Tuesday, Sports Champions, I'm free, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, especially if in the morning, to go into schools and try to inspire the next generation, which is great. There's no like, you have to work this day, you have to work that day. It just works around your schedule, which is, man, for an athlete, that's great because your schedule's all over the shop.
It's essential, isn't it? We speak to so many young athletes who are working as like a waitress or something like that, and it's impacting their performance, and it's just like, how can you give them that sort of flexibility to be able to make the most of their careers, especially because it's such a short career as well. You don't get a huge amount of time to do it.
So you feel like you're giving back as well.
Of course.
Like all the coaches that I've had growing up, you feel like now you're giving back, and the knowledge that you've learned throughout the years, some of the adversity that you've come past, like it's, you can actually just share the journey and see if it resonates with. If it just resonates with one kid, that's good for me.
Yeah.
It's good. Like, the opportunity it gives you to speak to a whole school is amazing. Yeah,
I'm sure it will. And then finally, I suppose, do you have a piece of advice for a young person thinking about a career in sport, maybe sprinting or bobsleigh specific, or maybe not?
I want to say one thing: do not compare yourself against anyone. Just focus on yourself. It's you against you.
I think that's a really good note to end it on. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It's been terrific talking to you, and thank you to everyone joining us from home. We'll see you next time. Cheers.